Hey there, fellow landlords, property managers, and real estate enthusiasts in the Portland Metro and across Oregon. It's your pal, Mr. Portland Landlord, checking in from the front lines of rental housing reality. You know, if you've been following along since the start of the year, you might remember my deep dive preview back in January, where I broke down every pre-filed bill that could shake up our world. Well, the dust has settled on the 2026 Oregon legislative session, and it's time for the grand finale. A no-nonsense summary of what actually made it through the gauntlet. Think of this as your post-game analysis, complete with winners, losers, and a few plot twists that remind us why Oregon politics is like trying to predict Portland's weather, full of surprises, but always ending with a need for good rain gear, or in our case, updated lease templates. Man, sometimes it feels like we're dodging raindrops and amendments at the same time, right? But let's dive in and make sense of it all. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of each past bill, let's zoom out for a quick session recap, okay? The 2026 session kicked off on February 3rd and wrapped up on March 6th after a brisk 35 days. Short and sweet, as even-year sessions tend to be. Lawmakers started with a hefty stack of proposals aimed at tackling Oregon's ongoing housing crisis, from boosting supply and preserving affordability to tweaking landlord-tenant rules. In my initial preview, I spotlighted around 20 pre-filed bills that caught my eye for their potential impact on us in the rental biz. These ranged from land use tweaks like expanding urban growth boundaries, or UGBs, to tenant protections, tax changes, and even studies on everything from estate taxes to homelessness regulations. You know, it's that classic mix where you're hoping for more tools to build and fewer hurdles to jump. Fast forward through committee hearings, amendments, floor debates, and the occasional late-night compromise. And we're left with a slimmer list of survivors, 11 bills that crossed the finish line in both chambers and are now enrolled, sitting on Governor Tina Kotek's desk as of March 11th, 2026. So, how did we get here? Well, not everything from the starting lineup made the cut. Some bills, like HB 4051's First-Time Homebuyer Loan Program, or SB 1514's repeal of the objective reasonableness standard for homelessness regs, fizzled out in committees, likely due to time constraints or lack of bipartisan buy-in. Others, such as HB 4136's bid to nix mortgage interest deductions for second homes, got sidelined despite their revenue-raising potential. It's like watching a Portland Timbers game. Some plays look promising, but get called offside. On the flip side, the session's highlights revolved around a clear push for housing production and preservation, with Governor Kotek championing measures to add affordable units for seniors and manufactured homes. Democrats prioritized fast-tracking big projects, while Republicans scored wins in curbing overregulation. Overall, it was a productive sprint. No sweeping rent caps or eviction moratoriums this time, phew, but plenty of practical adjustments that could ease development hurdles and clarify day-to-day operations. You know, it's refreshing when politics actually focuses on building stuff instead of just debating it. Now, let's break down each past bill, focusing on the final enrolled versions, what they mean for you as landlords or investors, some real-world examples, potential pitfalls to watch out for, and the timeline ahead. I'll throw in a few tips from my years managing properties in rainy Portland, where a leaky roof can turn into a habitability headache faster than you can say mold inspection. Starting with HB 4035, expanding urban growth boundaries for housing. In its final form, this bill broadens who can tweak UGBs under a temporary program, giving cities and metro more leeway to add land specifically for housing and development needs. It's all about combating the supply crunch by making it easier to bring in new buildable areas. You know, in Portland, we've seen how tight UGBs can squeeze multifamily projects. Think about those suburbs where a simple expansion could mean more duplexes or triplexes hitting the market. For landlords and investors, this could mean more opportunities in expanding markets. But here's a tip. Watch for local zoning quirks. I've had clients get burned assuming metro approval means smooth sailing. Potential pitfall? If the added land isn't infrastructure ready, costs could skyrocket. As for the governor's sign-off, it's enrolled and awaiting her signature. Effective around early June 2026. Next up, HB 4036, Preserving Affordable Housing Units. This one sets up the Preserve Affordable Homes for Oregon Fund, allowing the deposit of Article 11Q bond, proceeds to keep existing affordable units from flipping to market rate. Think of it as a safety net for properties at risk. The final draft emphasizes preservation grants or loans to nonprofits and local governments, which indirectly helps stabilize the rental market by preventing a flood of higher rent conversions. Practical tip: if you manage subsidized units, this could open funding streams for upgrades without hiking rents. Maybe that energy-efficient remodel you've been eyeing. But watch out. If you're selling a property with affordability covenants, this might complicate timelines. Governor Kotek is expected to sign soon, effective around early June 2026. Then there's HB 4037, tweaking the revolving loan program for affordable housing. The enrolled version fine-tunes the terms of an existing program. It adjusts interest rates or eligibility to make it more user-friendly. It's not flashy, but it greases the wheels for local housing initiatives in places like Portland, where funding gaps often stall developments. For landlords, that translates to potentially more affordable units coming online. Tip: if you're in development, check eligibility early. I've seen loans denied over minor paperwork snafus. Signature-wise, it's in the queue with no red flags. Effective 91 days post-adjournment, around early June 2026. Shifting gears to HB 4082. One-time UGB expansions for senior housing and manufactured parks. Sponsored at the governor's request. The final bill adds options for sites dedicated to affordable senior housing or manufactured dwelling parks. Oregon's got more gray hairs than craft breweries these days, right? For landlords with senior-focused properties, this might be a green light for expansions. I've managed a few retirement communities where adding units meant better economies of scale. But pitfalls include ensuring affordability covenants stick. Don't skimp on compliance checks. Kotek's likely to ink this one pronto, effective around early June 2026. HB 4084, fast-tracking permits and tax incentives for large developments, rounds out the supply boosters. Note that this one was introduced later in the session. The enrolled measure streamlines state permitting for big projects and expands tax breaks to lure major investments. It's watered down but still helpful for mixed-use sites. Investors take note. This could cut timelines on multifamily builds. In Portland, where bureaucracy can feel like wading through Willamette mud, this might shave months off. But a pitfall? If your project's not large enough, you miss out. Check thresholds early. Awaiting signature as an economic win. Effective around early June 2026. HB 4108, annexing non-contiguous land. The final version requires cities to annex non-contiguous land upon receiving a petition from all owners. It sets a precedent for owner-driven growth, potentially easing housing shortages. If you're investing around urban edges, this might unlock parcels faster. Tip: document readiness thoroughly. I've had annexations fail over missing surveys. Governor's sign-off expected, effective around early June 2026. On the landlord-tenant front, HB 4120, non-smoking policies in multifamily rentals. This allows multifamily owners to go smoke-free property-wide, even for existing tenants, with 90 days notice. It's a win for healthier living spaces. Say goodbye to lingering odors wafting through vents. In Portland's damp climate, smoke smells can stick like moss. Practical tip: ensure notices are crystal clear. I've added photos of signage in mine, but pitfall: if tenants push back with medical claims, consult legal. Don't assume it's cut and dry. Awaiting Kotek's signature. Effective 91 days post-adjournment. HB 4123. Limiting landlord disclosure of tenant info. Tightens the reins on sharing confidential details like financials or medical history. The final bill adds statutory damages for knowing breaches, with exceptions for screening or legal needs. This protects tenant privacy, crucial for abuse survivors. In my management days, I've seen sloppy sharing lead to lawsuits. Now train staff on redaction. Pro tip: update your policies now to dodge fines. Use secure portals. Signature pending. Effective 91 days post-adjournment, around early June 2026. HB 4128. Restricting large investors on single-family homes prohibits covered entities, think big funds, from buying SFRs without a 90-day public listing. Aimed at curbing institutional gobbling, It levels the field for individual buyers, but might slow flips for investors. Remember when hedge funds snapped up post-2008 foreclosures? Watch for loopholes in entity definitions. Maybe restructure if you're scaling. Kotek's expected to sign, effective 91 days post-adjournment. Wrapping with Senate bills, SB 1521, barring affordable unit mandates without offsets. For Portland metro jurisdictions, it bans forcing developers to include affordable units unless losses are calculated and compensated. This curbs inclusionary zoning overreach, potentially spurring more builds. I've seen IZ kill projects. Developers walk when math doesn't add up. Effective 91 days post-adjournment. Finally, SB 1523, regulating tenant portals. Defines portals, mandates non-electronic options for payments and access, and allows fees for card use. It's a nod to tech-averse renters, like that one tenant who still mails checks, while keeping modern conveniences. Tip: offer paper alternatives up front to avoid complaints. Effective 91 days post-adjournment, around early June 2026. There you have it, a session that delivered more carrots than sticks for housing folks. Keeps us building and compliant without too much pain. Hey, what's your take on which bill hits your portfolio hardest? Drop it in the comments below. I'd love to hear. Hey, if you're a Portland area landlord, come join the community over at www.paroa.org. We've got education, forums, networking, and we fight for your rights at the legislature. And for owners in the Portland Metro or Central Oregon looking for hassle-free management, check out the pros at www.nwrpm.com.